Okay, so if you've ever had a strong desire to achieve something or had a really big goal, you've probably heard that consistency is key. The problem is that it's one thing to hear that, and it's another thing to be able to be consistent. So, if consistency is your problem, then I'm going to help you solve that today. My name is Chris. I'm a health and fitness coach, and this is Muscle Ministry. The Bible says that we should not become weary from doing good, for at the proper time we'll reap a harvest if we do not give up. Okay, so first let's talk about what it means to be consistent. So to be consistent just generally means that you repeat certain activities often, or you show up repeatedly over and over and over again. Usually this happens on a particular cadence for you to consider it to be consistent, but that's up to you to decide. So for example, what I'm talking about is if you want to be consistent with showing up to the gym, what does that mean? Does that mean that you go every day? Does it mean that you show up every week? Does it mean that you show up every month? Those are different ways to define consistency, but they might be different to different people. To you, you might say, well, I'm not consistent unless it's every day. And you might look at somebody else who shows up every week and say, that's not actually consistency. Cool thing about that is you get to choose. So just make sure you define that, and then you can go from there as far as actually being consistent. So consistency is a function of two main things for me, and they both kind of play into the main idea of time management. But those two ways that it gets broken down in my mind are your priorities and your habits. So your priorities are those things that you say are important to you. If you're trying to set a particular goal and you need to be consistent, but you're saying that you're not consistent, that means that it's by definition not really a priority. Like if you're watching this and you're thinking to yourself, I have goals, they mean a lot to me, I just struggle with being consistent, I would argue that that's not actually true. You are being consistent, you just might not be putting your consistency in the right place. And so that's where I go to your habits. We are creatures of habit. Human beings are creatures of habit. So I guarantee you that there are things that you do that you're consistent on a regular basis. From a biological level, I mean, that's easy to kind of see. Like you probably wake up around the same time every day. You get hungry around the same times every day. You get sleepy around the same times every day. So this is just kind of a function. That's more of a description of how your hormones kind of dictate things internally, but there are also external cues that dictate your habits. And so you can probably point to specific things in your life that you do on an everyday basis. I would challenge you to, in the comments, put down some things that you do consistently every day. That will give you the fuel to know and dispel the notion that you're just not consistent. You're just not taking particular note of the things that you're doing on a consistent basis every day. Okay, so how do you fix the consistency problem? The first thing is you got to start with honesty. You have to ask yourself, like, is my goal really that important? Like, it can't be something superficial. It has to be visceral. You have to have a deep, strong desire to get to the goal. If you don't, you will be too easily distracted and will not be able to be consistent. Stephen Covey says in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, that you should put first things first. So I want you to think about the way that you spend your time in terms of as a direct reflection of your priorities. By definition, everything you do in the order in which you do it, it's according to your priorities. You might not be literally thinking to yourself, okay, this is a priority over XYZ, but the fact that you do it first is indicative that it is in fact more important. So if something is more important to you, I would suggest moving it closer to the beginning of the day. If you want to make sure that, like if your top goal for the day is to make sure you run a mile, then I would do everything I could to make sure that that's the first thing I do when I wake up. So that leads into the second part of your habits, like your cues. You can actually try to disrupt, well, let me back up. The issue with achieving your goals according to your priorities is because you need to be able to set up systems in order to make it where you can achieve these things. And so people either get one of two things wrong when it comes down to time management and putting together systems. They either don't put together systems that make it easier for them to accomplish the steps that they need to accomplish in order to get to the goal, or they have that in place, but it's too easily derailed. So an example of that second one would be like, if you created a system where you go jogging every day, but you have a particular place that you jog and it's only open during certain hours of the day, and if you miss that window, then like you're completely thrown off. It's like you want to avoid things that are so rigid that they prevent you from recovering. So that's what I'm saying. Like you either need to make achieving the goal of the day easy, or you need to make not achieving the goal difficult. I'll talk more about habits, how to form good habits, how to get rid of old habits in a future video. But for right now, I just want to leave it here and give you something to work with. Like, just make sure that you are honest with yourself and that you are actually serious about obtaining your goal. Sit down and really reflect and ask, am I willing to make this the highest priority in my life? And you don't have to necessarily say it's more important. Like if you have kids, you don't necessarily have to be like, oh, well, it's more important than my kids. That's not the point. The point is there are certain activities that you do every day, and you want to make this a high enough priority that it's evident through your actions that it's a priority. And so once you decide that it's really that important, it's that serious, then your time management needs to reflect that. In other words, you need to put first things first. You could just say, okay, well, it could look like this. It could be, if you want to work out in the evening, then you make a point that at the beginning of the day that you put it on, your schedule, you lay your clothes out, whatever's important to you, to make sure that it's the most likely to get done at the time that you've described. Or you can literally say it's going to be the first thing I do when I wake up. And in order to accomplish that, maybe I need to wake up an hour earlier, but it's worth it. Because what are you saying if you don't wake up that hour earlier? You're saying that hour of sleep is more important than my goal to get healthy and to get fit. That's just the reality. So if that's not the case, if you're saying that me getting healthy is more important than this list of other things that I have to do, then let your schedule and your actions reflect it. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you got something helpful out of all of this. If you have, hit the like button, subscribe, share, all that good stuff. If you have any additional tips about consistency, or if you want to just like share your own challenges and how you fix them to help out other people who might be looking at this, put a comment. It's always great. And also, if you're interested in working with me as your coach yourself, I have a link in the description about my channel. You can just click there to apply, and I will get back with you as soon as I can. Until next time, y'all, that's it. Be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Peace.